Toronto, GTA, your broker, Tito Singh. Here's another edition of the beautiful podcast that you always love. It's going to talk about life, the real estate market, most importantly, what's happening, what's going on. You know, it's interesting. What I'm seeing in the market trajectory is a change of price, a change of time. Think about it this way. Last week I talked about supply and demand. This week I'm going to talk about change. The change is occurring. In our generation, so if you were born in the 1980s, like myself, I try to be a little bit young, but I'm not. I am an 80s baby, is that we are in a different era. We used to see home prices until about 2005, 2006 at $450,000 in Ajax for a detached house. You know what we're seeing it today? A detached house in the GTA is over $1 million. That's anywhere from the east to the west. This past week, I will tell you from personal experience, what's transpired is I have been in 10 offer presentations. 10, okay? I have lost all 10. My client only has a $1 million budget. They can't surpass it. They're not even bidding on a detached home. They're looking for a townhouse in Markham, Ontario, and every single one that we bid on, 1.35, 1.1, 1.2. 1.3. We're talking about 1,500 square feet to 2,000 square feet. Crazy. This is what the market is. This is what is transpiring. Not enough supply, and it's getting more and more difficult to buy. What do? Think about it this way. If you always thought last year or the year before I should wait to buy, don't wait anymore. The price is not going back to $700,000 in the east end of the city for a detached home. It's not happening, ladies and gentlemen. It is not happening. We don't have a bubble. But there's one thing I want you to be aware of. And I was reading an article today on this. There's a huge supply issue in chain supply. Do you know what that is? So think about it. Major food suppliers, car manufacturers, there's so much going on. There's this little chip that is required in all of these gadgets, even toys for your children. So during Christmas time, you're going to see a shortage of toys. Why? There is not enough of this tech chip to be put in your iPhone, in your tablet, in your laptop. Think about it. These chips run everything. Right now, GM is backed up with trucks that are not finished because they don't have the chip. So they cannot sell these vehicles or trucks to anybody. This is what's happening. If you thought the real estate market had a supply issue, this kind of scares me a little bit more because without this chip, a lot of things will not be working the way that they are. What do? What happens? We have to see how the world is changing. We're not having another lockdown, so don't worry about that piece. We're actually coming out of it. This past week, Ford announced a plan going up until March where things are going to open up, meaning bars, restaurants, banquet halls, getting to full capacity. One of the best things I heard was that hopefully by March, and I was talking to my photographer and videographer today about this, by March, we can hopefully have no masks. How do you feel about that? Think about it. Are you ready to take off the mask? Are you ready to stand in front of 10, 15 people in your household? Are you comfortable? Are you double vaxxed? That's another big issue. So think about the people who didn't get the vaccine because they're even saying that they won't have the passport after March. So this injection that we've put into our body, what do we know? We know the pros and we know the cons. So Ford predicts that we will be back to a regular world in Ontario by March of 2022. Could be, could not be. We never know. Anything's possible. On a real estate perspective, if you own a detached home, keep it. I'll tell you why. A detached home is going to become one of the most luxurious homes to buy because builders are not building brand new detached homes very close to the city. You might get them in Niagara Falls still. You might get them in Paris, Ontario. You may get them all over the place of those calibers, 2 hours away from the city. But trying to get a detached home, let's say anywhere from Milton all the way up to Toronto, very difficult. From Oshawa all the way up to Toronto, very difficult. From Newmarket all the way up to Toronto, very difficult. Because the pricing is gone skyrise. So what do? You are somebody who's saying the market is changing. You know, I get phone calls all the time, and they always tell me this. They say, Tito, can I get something for $600,000? It's impossible. Unless you want a one-bedroom condo, it's doable. But getting an actual house at $600K is very challenging in today's market. You have to be strategic. Ideally, you want to have at least $100,000 saved. I know that's a lot. It's very hard for first-time buyers, and it's not easy. So I totally get it. But that's probably a good amount to get your feet wet. But don't overextend yourself. We know you have a passion to buy a home. You want a detached home. You want a semi-detached. But if you can only afford $700,000, look at a condo. Look at a pre-con. Get strategic, okay? On the mortgages perspective, a lot of people ask me these questions all the time. As a licensed mortgage agent as well, I totally understand this. I had a great call with somebody today. A lender versus B lender versus C lender. Do you know what the difference is? Everybody says C is the highest. Well, C will continue to be the highest because it's a private mortgage. But when somebody comes to you and tells you the difference between an A and a B, A, yes, you're going to get the best rate. The B lender is going to be a little bit higher. But it are the clauses. Can you break the mortgage? Can you do transition? What can you do to amplify for what you want? Everybody thinks A is the best mortgage. I have some news for you. It's not. If you're self-employed, if you have multiple jobs, not necessarily an A lender is going to give you a mortgage. You need to go to a B lender. That is going to, your trajectory grow on where you want to go and what you want to do. And you have to be ready for that. You have to make that decision. Also, when it comes to down payment, don't have your down payment scattered 10 different ways. It's got to be one form coming in so that you can show the lender, listen, I have a down payment, I'm ready to get a house, I have income. But remember, A, B, and C, totally different. If you get stuck in a situation where you cannot close your house with an A or B and you take a C, you have to be smart. Don't cry that you're paying out the money. Get the C, close the house, within 6 months, get yourself back to a B or A. Make sure whoever your broker is on the mortgage side has that plan initiated for you and making you feel better, okay? Is very, very crucial. Because if you don't have those pieces, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Yesterday, I was actually sitting in front of the computer. We have this great technology called Geo Warehouse on the real estate side. I actually went back myself and I looked at all the houses that I've owned in the past and the pricing that I sold them for. And these are my own personal homes where I lived. And I said, wow, the market has changed so much from 2005 until 2021. Did you know that some homeowners within the last year have made a profit of $350,000? $350,000. This is crazy. And I kind of sit back in my chair and I think about this and I say, this is how some of these people, but you know what? Sometimes we never anticipated that this market would be the way that it is today. The other piece is we're starting to see what's expensive, what's not. Think about that piece. Everything's expensive. We live in Toronto. It's a hustle-bustle city. But a piece of real estate in Toronto will always be very expensive. Where are we headed? I talked about this last week. We're headed towards New York. We're headed towards Vancouver. It's happening. It's happening faster than we even anticipated. So that means that you have to be ready. As a real estate investor, the game has changed. You cannot buy something and flip it in Toronto the way that you could have done it maybe 10 years ago. You can buy something in potentially London, Sarnia, Windsor, all these other small cities, flip it and make some money. But you have to be strategic. Are you a person that wants to buy and hold, meaning it's a retirement, meaning I'm going to get 5 properties, I'm going to rent them out, I'm going to wait 20 years, my renter pays out my mortgages, I do the repairs, and then I have some retirement, and then I can liquidate my assets at that time? That's 1. 2, I own 2 properties, a condo and a house. I have my house, I bought a condo, I have the condo for my child. I've set the bar for my child, meaning I just had a newborn, I got them a pre-construction, I know it's gonna go up in value, I'm gonna rent it out for 20 years. If something happens to me or my wife, I'm able to give this condo to my son or daughter. That's another way of looking at it. Here's a third way. I have a couple of friends, we like commercial investments, we want to get together because we know the value in commercial, we know what's transpiring, we're going to go out and buy a building, we're going to rent it as office space or it's mixed use, and we're going to capitalize on the cash flow, we're going to pull that money in. Yes, but you need to look out for one thing. Look at what the TMI is, what the taxes are, do the mathematics behind it to understand if you're making cash flow. Anything you buy over $1 million, you must understand, are you getting 3 to 5% cash flow back? Not everybody's gonna tell you this. Everybody's gonna say, hey, Tito, go buy this. Tito, go buy that. Don't just take that word. Ask your representing agent, why is this a good property? Why should I put my hard-earned money into it? It is not the number of properties you own. It is the caliber of the properties you own. Do you understand what I'm saying? Meaning, what are they willing to give out, right? Think about it. In the world of basketball, if you have a three-pointer shooter on your team, you know that he is able to hit three-pointers, at least 7 of them in one game. He's got caliber. Just like your property. You know the location where it is. It's the hottest unit at the corner or the hottest house. You know it's shooting 3-pointers all the time. This is what you need to understand when you're trying to look for a property. Today, you know what? We talked a little bit about mortgages. We talked a little bit about real estate. We're talking a little bit about what the forward plan is for COVID and removing masks. I want to talk a little bit about how are you feeling? What's going on with you? You know, I see a lot of people out there right now with their heads down. People who lost their jobs because of COVID, businesses obviously that have gone under and you have to restart. How are we going to kickstart this in 2022? 2022 will be a hot year for bars, restaurants, banquet halls, live music venues, you name it, where people can gather. Because it's been too long. And you're going to see people running and running and running to get there, to make it happen. So these are some things that you have to be waiting and be patient for. Are you bored with your life? I was actually asking this question to somebody earlier today. Meaning you're tired of the routine. You're working from home. You don't have your morning coffee. You don't have the drive on the Don Valley Parkway. You don't have to honk your horn or hopefully not give anyone the middle finger or anything, right? Because you don't want to do that. But what I mean is, typically that would be a typical day for somebody going to work. They're sitting there, or you got your Jay-Z on or your Biggie Smalls or whatever music that you like, AC/DC, all these top bands, hip hop, rap, whatever it is. But it's that feeling. I dress up, I put my best clothes on, that great welcome at the office from the secretary or my peers. These are things that people, don't talk about because that makes her day. Or your boss giving you a gift, seeing how successful you're at your job. These are things that people have not had in the last 2 years. You know what the norm is now? I'll shop online. I get it delivered, and I open the box, and that's it. That's how the world has become. Everyone's shopping online. So what my perspective today is to give you some insight, most importantly in understanding. And there's one piece I want to leave you with as well today. You know when you put an offer in, you cross out the conditions. So agents talk about this, clients talk about this. Because there's such a shortage of supply, if you put an offer in with a mortgage condition, there is a highly likely chance that they're not even going to look at it. Secondly, get your mortgage pre-approved so that when you are going into these presentations, you know your max is 800, a million, 1.2, 1.5, whatever it is. You know the numbers, you know the clarity, you know what you can do. Because then you don't have to put it on. You can strike it out, you feel good. Inspection, make sure you have a creative agent. Meaning, do you need to get an inspection? Do you shorten the period of time of your inspection? All these things. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about today is, in the life, sometimes situations occur. And in the past couple of weeks, a couple of things happened where I wouldn't say you see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you see the big picture. Lights, camera, action. I know you right now. It's happened to you. Because now you're starting to go out, you're going to see people, you're seeing the reality, you're seeing what's transpiring. All of this is happening. I will tell you this. Sometimes situations occur where you kind of sit yourself back in your seat and you say, why did that happen to me? Why did that occur? Why me? Like, you had nothing to do with the situation, but bam, you were put in the middle of it. And you had to spin off from it, meaning do a complete U-turn and be like, whoa, this transpired to me. You got to take a deep breath. You got to go for a walk. Today I was in front of one of my listings that's been on the market for some time, and it's on a court. And my driver dropped me off, and I got out of the car, and I was pacing. Left, right, reverse. And after 15 minutes, he got out of the car. He said, Tito, are you okay? I said, you know what? I'm enjoying the sunshine, but I'm thinking about all of the things I have to do. Find avenues that will help you alleviate the stress in your life. I find that walking works for me because we are in such a fast-paced world and we're constantly going. But the question is, you need to be happy. And don't let the small stuff hurt you. The politics, he said, she said, all that stuff. Be you. Be who you are. Be the best that you can be. Get the help that you need. Because that's going to be you. From a Royal LePage Infinity and Royal Cachet Realtors, we are working 24/7 around the clock to give you the best service. You want to list a property, you want to purchase a property, talk to us. Our doors are open. We're here to advise you, walk you through the process. I think something that makes me different from a lot of people is I'm on your level, meaning I totally understand. Sometimes people sell a property for appreciation gain, family situation, financial situation. The piece that I can probably bring to you is understanding that situation and giving you a good trajectory timeline. But I'll be very honest with you, anything you put on the market today is sold. Like this. And I mean anything. And it's, if you stage it and you do it right, you're going to get a little bit higher than the regular price. So don't fight your agent on that. And the other piece is people are getting mortgages all the time. As long as you're working, you can show the income, you've done your taxes, you're doing things by the book, There are over 300 lenders out there that can help you. When you're shopping for a mortgage, think about where you want to go, who do you want to work with, which broker is going to help you, just like real estate. Who's going to show you? It's not just taking you to see a house and say, call it a day. It doesn't work like that. I get all my friends calling me all the time saying, oh, the market, what's going on? I can't afford to buy. I told them 2 years ago, sitting in the back of the Lincoln on the phone with a lot of people, there was this one particular client of mine. I told them, I said, I know you're losing bidding wars at 750 for condo towns, but I'm telling you, you should buy. After showing them 37 houses, you know what happened? They decided to wait. You know what happened today? They don't have a budget to buy a townhouse anymore because they waited. This is the reality I'm telling you as a broker in front of you, live in the GTA at 386 at Clinton Avenue West, Tito Singh. You cannot buy a townhouse at $700,000 anymore. It's not happening because the bar has risen. The supply has risen. The demand has risen. Be ready. You think a condo downtown is, 1,000 square feet at 1.5, overlooking the water? I just heard today on the west end of the city, you're looking at 1,400 square feet, starting price $960,000, and it's 1 hour away from Toronto. 1 hour away. What do? Where do you buy? You know the most important thing for a lot of people is? Coffee, cigarettes. That's probably what it is. It's their routine that they do every day, and among many other things. But if you haven't stepped into the market to purchase something, to build an asset, you should. A lot of my clients are asking me, what do you think of the rental market? I truly believe the rental market is going to become one of the most highest demand markets in coming years. Why? Because people will be forced not being able to afford to buy. They just don't make enough income, they can't afford to buy, or they don't have a down payment. You have over 3 million immigrants that we've talked about many times in this podcast coming to this country. All of the airports are open. Things are happening. If this continues, how do we control the population? How do we control housing? So the government said, if you have a vacant property now, we're going to charge you a certain tax. We're going to do certain things. There's a whole guideline of them. That's good. That's nice. Thank you very much. Cheers to all of you. Right? What are they going to do next? They'll probably put some type of rule out there. It's coming down the road. We hope not, because it's giving the freedom for our buyers to do certain things. Agent to agent. I have been in 10 offer presentations. Listing agents, my friends, my peers, be careful. We understand that the market is hot, but do not accept an offer that is outrageous, that doesn't even compare to the values recently sold in the last 30 days. You are putting not only the seller client at risk, you're putting the buyer client at risk, because the appraisal value will not come back. I have seen it live in the GTA with many agents. They get stuck. You cannot do this anymore. Think about it. I know sellers, you want, I made 1.4, but my house is only worth 1.2, and the last comp was sold for 1.3. Be very careful. Very careful. Greed is something that will take you apart over time. As a listing agent, you have to be careful when you present the offer to your client, because if the appraisal values don't make sense, there's trouble. The house will not close, or the buying client will lose their deposit because they don't have the other money to help close it. Very careful. Private mortgages. Everybody's like, oh, private cost money, private cost. I will tell you, people take them when they're stuck. They take them anyways because they can't show employment. They have money. There's no other way of doing it. Then they'll look at a B lender later when they do have a job, and when they can show income, they can do the transition. This will carry on for many years. You know what else is happening now? Private lenders giving mortgages that you can pay off over 25 years at a higher interest rate. So if the big banks weren't scared before, they're going to be scared now. You know what else the big bank is scared about? Bitcoin. The air money. You know the pretend, well, sometimes I think, where is this money going? They're terrified. They're not going to regulate it. But that's something that's happening in years to come. Electric cars, huge. Gasoline, big. So when you listen to the Tito Singh podcast, I don't want to just share with you what the market stats are because they're available on Google, okay? I want to give you the realism. Today we talked about a lot of things today. We talked about purchase and sale, how to put an offer. We talked about what's happening in the market, what's the hot city. We also even talked about what's happening with losing offer presentations, agent to agent understanding about appraisal values. You have to be educated as a client, because if you're not, you could put the wrong offer in, which would cost you a lot of money in the long run. The other piece I wanted to leave you with is that Christmas is around the corner. Be ready. It's a great time to get together with your families. It's been a while since we had this chance, but I highly recommend that you do. Be safe. I'm going to leave you with something today. A good person, a good heart, an honest person has a lot of integrity. Honesty comes from laying out the foundation of how hard you work, who you are, and what you can do in life. I give myself 100% of honesty every day in everything I do. You know why? Because I'm real. I can't satisfy everybody. That's impossible. No human can. But if I can get 99% of satisfying them, I've impacted them. I leave that with you. Impact people. We are all equals. We all have different careers. We all make different money. We all drive different cars. We all wear different jewelry. We all wear different clothing. But we're all one people. We want a safe world. We want a world that we can have good time with our friends and family and great food. Don't forget that piece. Because we just learned the hard way for the last 2 years. That was taken away. Your broker, Tito Singh, real estate, mortgages, giving you the best advice. Tune in for the next episode. Looking to bring on a special guest for you for some good laughs, some good education, and even more. Thank you.